Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. This is our very special Extra Life 2020 recap, episode 1 of probably 3, might be 4. We'll see how good I can do about editing it all down. But it was a resoundingly successful Extra Life year, 2020. We blew past the goal of raising $1,000 for the Extra Life charity. So a big thank you to everybody who helped chip in or got to come and hang out or, spend some time with me in the chat. I had probably more fun this year than any other year, hands down. So it was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much, everyone, for making Extra Life 2020 just fantastic. So anyway, we started the night off by radioing in some money from both our moon base and Harmonia station around Mars, and then jumped out to our Jasper mission in Jupiter orbit in an attempt to try to bring it home. Well, the mothership. Anyway, this is something we've been planning on doing for a while, and it's really just to test out to see what would happen if you drop something from Jupiter and try to hit Earth. So we're trying to plot out our ejection burn and see how well that all goes for us. And we're close, but not quite. It does require about 160 some odd meter per second correction after we leave Jupiter SOI, but that's really not a huge deal. We've got just gobs and gobs and gobs of delta V on this thing. Something like 6 kilometers per second left in the tanks. And yeah, we still have one of our atmospheric probes still attached. Should have gotten rid of that one. However, I did forget. So we did end up leaving the vessel and coming back to it because batteries or something. We wanted to put it in hibernation and then come back to it just a couple of days later so that we could perform this ejection burn, which is, nowhere near pro grade. But whatever we got to do to bring it home. Like I said before, we have just miles of delta V. So it really, I think we might have enough delta V to capture, especially if we jettison our other atmospheric probe for no other real reason. Maybe we'll just put it on an atmospheric collision course with Earth. It has no parachutes of its own, so we can't save it anyway. The only part of this that is actually rated for Earth return is a very tippy top. You can kind of see the heat shield nestled between those two large orange tanks there. That has a parachute, and we'll be carrying home most of our science from this journey. Well, really all of it. All of it that we didn't radio in should have been moved into that thing so that we can actually recover actual pictures from Jupiter and maybe even pictures from just barely inside the atmosphere. Wouldn't that be cool? I know it's like 200 science. We'll see how well that goes for us, but we've got our correction node plotted. Our ejection burn is mostly handled, and so we will jump now over to the one of its 2 atmospheric probes, the one we actually jettisoned, and then couldn't actually get it into Jupiter's atmosphere last time or last pass, so we're going to try to just go ahead and do that now. Unfortunately, there's nothing in comms range of this little guy, so it goes about as well as could be expected. This would be like the 3rd failure of these atmospheric probes out of 4 attempts, and the 4th one's coming home with us. But yeah, here's old me. Hamster shall die a valiant death. He fears not combat. Nope. Yep. Well, that was the antenna, but considering we're not getting any, drag at all, because you'd think it would rotate. You'd think it would do something, but it's a miracle the hamster survived the journey in the first place. Fair. So with that failure of the Jasper program well into the books, we're going to do another cycle of radioing in money from our research stations because, well, we're broke. I mean, still, we're getting better. I think we've actually been able to get ourselves above 1 million funds by the end of the Extra Life live stream. So we're not doing terribly. We can actually afford to roll out some of our heavier launch vehicles. So after having radioed in another bout of money, we can actually clear out one of these life support tanks. Finally, it only takes about I don't know, 7 years to empty one out. This one will empty quicker because we actually have 10 crew aboard Harmonia Station currently, and we really need the stocking port freed up so that we can, I don't know, refuel one of these. We're going to try to cycle out the crew next window and bring at least 5 of them home, maybe 6 if we decide to cycle out our entire crew from the first BPR Chestnut M to come here to Harmonia Station, leaving the second wave of 4 that were supposed to land on Mars, but well, we screwed that one up pretty good by crashing their descent stage on an orbital capture maneuver. So we'll just enjoy the incredibly reflective Martian atmosphere until it magically sinks below 100 kilometers or so. That'll give us an actual good view of the surface. It wouldn't be KSP if we didn't have some explosions, so we had 1 at Jupiter. Why not go for 2 and try to just blow some stuff up at hopefully supersonic speeds? Not the most aerodynamic of thingies. It'll probably still hit the ground at well over Mach 2, or at least that's the goal. We do get some flamey effects, which is rare for Mars, enough to tear off the solar panels once we get low enough into the atmosphere. And I mean, really, who doesn't just enjoy littering up the Martian surface a little bit? Yeah. So our next adventure here on Extra Life 2020 was to try to go ahead and complete yet another satellite contract while completing a 3 Kerbal to low Earth orbit contract. So we're going to pull out our freshly refitted and ready to fly Shuriken Mark 6C, the cargo variant. I'm going to try to build out just a very basic satellite. I think the contract stipulates that it doesn't actually have to have much of anything on board other than comms and the ability to radio in. Maybe we'll do a telemetry trick or just whatever we can from that probe core if we can get it into its desired altitude. So that was kind of the goal. It was really Kerbal Jobs program at this point. Our shuttles are really cheap to turn around, really inexpensive to fly, and we can field one about every 7 or 8 days or so, provided we don't royally screw it up. So I was building out a satellite. Turns out I didn't need to because we had one saved to subassemblies from the last time we attempted this quite ridiculous mission. And we're also going to staple on the Wookiee flag because we need to give Wookiee credit for this amazing vehicle. But yeah, we can move this to the top of the build queue and get it fielded in a very, very short amount of time. We'll just have to pick out a crew now that we've got all of our Venus Kerbals back. We're probably not going to send them to orbit. I've actually had thoughts of sending the Venus crew to Mars and maybe sending a Mars crew to Venus to see if we can't get a Kerbal beyond level 3 for the first time in this entire almost 700 episode series. It seems weird. Well, it's not weird. We have been intentionally not ranking out our Kerbals past level 3 because going to Mars is kind of a big deal. Going to Venus, also kind of a big deal, only not as much because nobody lands on Venus that ever gets to come home. But maybe we'll just see if we can't push that Venus crew, get them to level 4, and get some of the highest ranking Kerbals we've ever had on this series. That would be novel, I guess. So, Shuriken Mark 6C is out of the gates and on its way to orbit. Just a little bit of wiggles, but we are launching to Kauai Potato Station. I think my original intention was to cycle out the crew at our lunar research station. Now that they have the second supply rover, that's the word I was looking for, we can actually detach the station, the lab module, and dock it end to end with one of the supply rovers and go hunting for biomes. And that will, in fact, generate a whole lot of very worthwhile science. But I think we need to make sure that there's enough fuel both at Hotel Coast Cosmos and on the surface of the moon so that we can try to, I don't know, make sure that they can have a safe return flight and enough supplies to survive it, or something like that. So I think we're gonna kind of cut the teeth on some of these Kerbals, get them trained up, and maybe we'll cycle the crew out with our next shuttle launch because they are very profitable. We pull in, I don't know, 750,000 Kerbucks for every 3 Kerbal to low Earth orbit contract we can complete. And, well, that ain't nothing. I mean, we can field all but the largest of our lifters off the backs of exactly one of these contracts, so it's very well worth it to, I don't know, keep doing these things over and over again. It's really the only way we have to make money. But I will note that I did forget to put batteries on our little payload here, which shouldn't affect much so long as we decide to do things in the daylight. So we are plotting a apogee kick and trying to decide what we can do with our available delta V, and it turns out the plane change maneuver is about 110 degrees, which, yeah, perfect. Turns out we probably don't have the delta V to pull it off anyway. Not that we're not going to try, but in a awesome staging error, we have jettisoned the satellite from its kick stage. I swore I moved those stagings around, and I forgot to be paying attention to the footage while I was doing this voiceover, so I guess I will leave it as an exercise to the viewer on whether or not I actually moved that engine down a stage, or if I just was really getting that tired. This is probably about 3.5 hours in to the live stream, which I do at a much later time than my normal Sunday streams, after having worked a normal day and having been up since 5 a.m. prior. I was starting to come apart a little bit at the threads, so expect future episodes of this to be even more riddled with silly mistakes and general stupidity, because I was just so completely out of it. So, not wanting to let this mission go entirely to waste, we decided to just go ahead and try to pull off a rendezvous with Kawaii Potato Station and at least give this crew some R&R. I guess you could call it that, in the orbital waypoint, where I'm sure there's a nice game console, or I don't know, maybe a Yahtzee set or something they can do to hang out for the next couple of weeks while we try to fulfill the terms of our 3 Kerbal to low Earth orbit contract, which is, of course, completely nullified once you dock to anything, but I'm more concerned with the spirit of the contract than KSP's very rigid definition of launch a new vessel. So there is the station. You can see the highlighted reticle there as we start to make our approach, and as I'm sure you can predict, docking is probably going to take us quite a while. It is not my field of expertise, we will say, but I like to try. So I had thought that maybe at some point we would have 2 of these shuttles docked at the station simultaneously in case we decide to bring up the second one, try to milk another contract while we're completing this one, and do a crew rotation and get some of our newer Kerbals trained up and, I don't know, more eager to fly. So we will be taking a little extra time just making sure our alignment with this docking port does not interfere with the alignment another shuttle would have taken to get to that other long docking arm opposite the Nemo vessel there that you see currently docked at the station. So there will be some adjustments to our parking, and of course, me, I forgot to unlock, I think, the aft tank, or pump fuel forward from the aft tank. Our balance was off, and it was causing kind of a struggle for me to kind of keep alignment and get things situated in such a manner where we weren't drifting off axis or articulating badly when trying to make a lateral shift. Yeah, you can see it there. We were rotating pretty badly on our yaw axis while trying to translate laterally. So, the usual fun that I have while trying to do these things, although honestly I do prefer off-axis dockings like this. I think I can just pull them off much smoother, and I'm a lot less likely to knock things around. But eventually we would get hard dock and we would celebrate, and Well, that's going to do it for this episode, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. So until then, see you later.